of sarvasya, everything, meaning matter and spirit, everything that exists on the strength of Krishna being the source of everything. Krishna is the source of everything, including Queen Kunti. And she knows that. Krishna is coming before her and touching her feet like one might respect a very senior person. And she is offering prayers with her palms folded before Krishna, describing many things that we discussed previous visits, 2 visits we covered this far. She's describing Krishna as mysterious. Mysterious in the sense that people can't know him. And he is filled with, because he's the source of everything, he's filled with what appears from a material perspective to be contradictory. Say it the other way. All features of existence that appear to be contradictory rest within Krishna. He's far away and he's very near as well. He's within everything and he's outside of everything, and so forth. So she states these things in her own way, in these prayers. She's saying, most people don't understand you. She's saying, I don't understand you, although by her words she's understanding it. And she's describing how different people understand it. Then there's a whole series of verses we just completed. This one is the last of this series, where she's saying, some people say you appeared in this world for this reason, that reason, the other reason, the other reason. One of those reasons, for example, was to honor Vrishni, because Krishna appeared in the dynasty of an ancient king. So he appeared in the Vrishni dynasty to give fame and credit to Vrishni. She makes the comparison just like sandalwood. It's at the time of Krishna, at least, there was a phrase, Malaya sandalwood, because in the Malaya hills, sandalwood trees were abundant. Sandalwood trees could grow anywhere, but they were especially known to be grown in Malaya, and sandalwood is a very special kind of wood. So Malaya sandalwood. So as Malaysia became famous because of the sandalwood, so also Krishna appeared in the Vrishni dynasty to honor King Vrishni. And she gives, some people say this, some people say that. And this one is, what she understands is the real reason. So this is the grand finale of this little section. Now, if you remember, this is a recording. We have a little extra microphone. And I'd like to hold the microphone next to this little speaker. And it's a recording, it's going to be sung twice. Where's the image on the screen? Can we see the image on the screen?
This is controlled by the temple.
Say it again.
That's controlled by the temple.
In the control room, can you show what's on my computer up on that screen? Technology is great when it works. It's a little frustrating when it doesn't. And if you don't know what's needed to do to make it work like me, you're dependent on other people. But so I'm gonna what to do? I'll play the recording. Make sure it works. Bhavit This is one of Queen Kunti's prayers. I mean, this is meant to be visualized, so I really hope they get it together. Here's the translation. The translation is, and yet others say that you appear to rejuvenate the devotional service of hearing, shravana, remembering, smarana, worshipping, arhani, and so on, in order that the conditioned soul suffering from material pangs might take advantage and gain liberation. This is all visual, but you can't see it. Now you can see it. Oh, look at that. Isn't that nice? Should we do it again? It's nice to see you first. Oh, I put this. You have to pause. Now. Avidya kama karmani Sadhana smaranarhani Tatsyamitvikechana
Sadhana smaranarhani
This is Kunti's conclusion. Others say that you appear to rejuvenate the devotional service of hearing, remembering, worshiping, and so on, in order that the conditioned souls suffering from material pangs might take advantage and gain liberation. So the purpose of Krishna's appearance in this world is this, to restore principles of Dharma. And the purpose of the principles of Dharma is not just virtuous action to get to heavenly planets, but the purpose of Dharma is to return to our original position in the spiritual world, which we departed from. There's a verse in the 6th canto Bhagavatam that's spoken by Yamaraj. You've seen the painting here? Yes. There's Yamaraj on his throne, and those fellows in the front there, they're the Yamadutas. And the Yamadutas are coming to express their frustration. Because their business, the Yamadutas, the Dutas, the messengers of Yamaraj, is to bring persons who are sinful, too much sinful, to the court of Yamaraj for decision what their next destination is going to be. So they went to bring Ajamila to Yamaraj. But the Yamadutas were checked. They were checked by the Vishnu Dutas. The Dutas mean they're messengers. And the Vishnu Dutas said, stop. They said, who are you? Who's ever stopped that? Stop. Who are you people? And they said, we'll answer that question, but first you answer your question that we have. On what basis are you going to arrest Ajamila? Well, he did this sin, that sin, the other sin, the other sin, the other sin, the other sin. And he didn't do anything to counteract that sin. He didn't do any atonement, any prayashchitta, any procedure for relieving himself of reaction to sin. So we're taking him away, step aside. And the Vishnuduta said, you're obviously unqualified because you don't understand that above atonement for sin, there's transcendental activity starting with chanting of the holy name. He just called so many times, Narayana. When the time of death came, he was calling his son. It was Abbas, or shadow, calling of the name Narayana, because he was intending something else, but he called the name Narayana. And that Abbas chanting is sufficient to free one from all reactions of all sins. So you better go back to Yamaraj and find out what the deal is. Go do your homework. Take some more lessons from Yamaraj. So they left. Who's ever checked that? But the Yamadutas went back to Yamaraj. That's what the scene is in this painting. And they wanted to know what happened. Who were those people? And we thought you were the supreme, because whoever stops death. If there's two supremes, that's a problem. Because there might be some contradiction in them one. Gotta be one supreme. Who's supreme? And Yamaraj states who's supreme. And Yamaraj states in this verse, it's pointed out here, the giver of Dharma is Sakshat Bhagavan. Dharmam tu Sakshat Bhagavat Pranitam. Pranitam means establishes. Bhagavan, the self-same Bhagavan establishes Dharma. And I'm going to read a little section from the purport. This is Canto 6, Chapter 3, verse 19, where the verse is quoted. When challenged by the Vishnudutas to describe the principles of religion, the Yamadutas said, Veda pranihito dharma. Veda pranihito, similar to the Sanskrit here. The Vedas established dharma. They did not know, however, that the Vedic literature contains ritualistic ceremonies that are not transcendental, but are meant to keep peace and order among materialistic persons in the material world. Real religious principles are nishtraigunya, which means above these three modes of material nature are transcendental. The Yamadutas did not know these transcendental religious principles, and therefore, when prevented from arresting Ajamila, they were surprised. So the transcendental Dharma, so within the Vedas, there's Dharma, just like Mahabharata. There's virtue and the absence of virtue, with its opposite vice. So the Pandavas and the Kauravas, headed by Duryodhana, even Dhritarashtra, and so forth. The good guys and bad guys. The people that abide by Dharma, the people that don't. And it's the conflict in the world for people that do and people that don't. Welcome to the world. It's that kind of a place. And transcendental to good and bad is transcendental, or that which is directly enunciated by Bhagavan. That's how Dharma is established. And when those principles become lost, Krishna comes and he restores Dharma. Right? It's the day after Gita Jayanti. So when Krishna comes, there's 3 reasons he states in Bhagavad Gita. There's many, but 3 reasons. Give protection to the sadhus, pritranaya sadhanam, to diminish the influence or admonish or annihilate the duskritis, the demons, protect the devotees, check the demons, and restore Dharma. Dharma samstha panarthaya amabami yuge yuge. The 3 reasons for Krishna's appearance. So Krishna establishes Dharma. When there was discrepancy in Dharma, Kunti is saying, he came for that purpose. To restore Dharma when it needed to be restored. The commentary reads, the Lord out of his causeless mercy, because he is more merciful to the suffering living beings than they can expect, the Lord appears before them and renovates the principles of devotional service. Here he's equating Dharma with devotional service. Now in this section where Yamaraj is speaking to the Yamadutas, there's personalities who are knowers of Dharma in perfection. They're called the Mahajans. 12 Mahajans. And he lists them, the 12 Mahajans. And they're the knowers of what is Dharma. And since Paradharma, or the supreme Dharma, is devotional service, Rupa Goswami gives us this nice understanding of what are the 9 processes of bhakti, or devotional service. The first one is Shravanam, and the one who exemplified perfection through Shravanam was Maharaj Parikshit. He heard Srimad Bhagavatam and achieved perfection. And Kirtanam, or chanting, was one who spoke the Bhagavatam. That's Shukadev Goswami. He spoke to Maharaj Parikshit. So those 2, Shravanam and Kirtanam. What's the next one? Smaranam. The one who achieved perfection through Smaranam was Prahlad Maharaj. Constant remembrance of Krishna, even when he was in the greatest of difficulties, being tortured by Hiranyakashipu. Padasevanam, the goddess of fortune. Lakshmi, she's always engaged in serving the lotus feet of the Lord. So that's 4 out of 9. What comes after Padasevanam? Deity worship. Archana. And Prithu, the empowered incarnation, Prithu, described in Canto 4, he was very, very skilled in deity worship. All his royal possessions were offered in pure devotion to the deity. So that's 5 out of 9. Deity worship, Archanam. Bandhanam, Akrura offered prayers while traveling to Vrindavan to see Krishna. He also offered prayers when returning back to Mathura with Krishna and Balaram in his chariot. He offered prayers and achieved perfection through prayers. That's 6. Executing the orders, Hanuman. You can't do it any better than Hanuman. This little girl, she's next to Hanuman. She's very enthusiastic. You like to serve? You like to serve? No? You like to pull your father's ear? Okay. You like to pull your father's ear? Balgopal? Balgopal. What about Hanuman? Not Hanuman. Balgopal. Okay. But Hanuman achieved perfection through service to Lord Ramchandra, carrying out his word all orders, everything, zoom, zoom, off he goes, carrying out Ram's request. Dasyam Sakyam, that's Arjuna, and, well, he'll perfect through his friendship with Krishna, and Bali Maharaj Atmanivedana. So these are the 9 processes of devotional service, and they're propagated by Sakshat Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Here's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. Nice commentary, I like this. This is the real reason for the Lord's appearance. What's that? First, there's ignorance. That's what the image is. The ostrich sticking his head in the sand. Ignorance. There's a problem, you don't pay attention, just stick your head in the sand. Avidya. Then comes desire, or kama. Then action, karma vihi. You come to engage those suffering due to actions arising from material desires, which are due to ignorance in actions for attaining prema. The destruction of suffering is incidental because it is said in the next verse, which we're going to cover shortly, that the result of hearing about the Lord is seeing the lotus feet of the Lord by seeing the Lord when it attains prema. A little pause here. Very popular in the world today, growing in popularity in the world today, is Buddhism. Maybe you're aware, maybe you're not aware. This phrase mindfulness, where does it come from? Buddhism. Mindfulness. You've heard the phrase lately, more than usual? That's where it comes from. Mindfulness is a phrase of Buddhism. Here, listen, here's one of the essential teachings of Buddha is, this is a fill-in-the-blank question. The root cause of suffering is desire. Root cause of suffering is desire. To become nirvana means cessation of material existence. So when you stop existence, all the rest follower of the Vedas, there's something. What's that something? That something is an eternal relationship with the Supreme Person. I'm Spirit Soul, eternally. The Supreme Spirit Soul exists eternally, even before creation, even before suffering, even before anything. Even before anything of this temporary realm. He's the source of everything. Remember? Aham Sarvasya Prabhu. He's the source of everything. Matter and spirit, he's the source of everything. So what's on the other side of suffering, or the other side of mindfulness, is eternality. That's much nicer than nothingness. And it's reality, besides it's nicer. And in that eternality, there is a relationship with the Supreme. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is writing, this destruction of suffering is incidental. Why? Because the next verse is going to say, on the other side of the moment, or the other side of suffering, is the Supreme Lord. And when you see the Supreme Lord, their relationship with the Lord is restored. Or the process of devotional service, the process of Dharma is given to help bring people to that position where they have a relationship with the Supreme Lord. Therefore, Krishna comes, Kunti is saying in his prayer, he comes to restore Dharma. What's that? The eternal relation with the Supreme Lord. That is, eradication of suffering is incidental. It's not a liberationist message. It's not a salvationist message. It's not a moksha message. It's not a merging message. It's restoring our original consciousness, which is an eternal relationship in love or prema with the Supreme Lord. That Krishna came to restore. Now, the image that's on the screen is the ostrich sticking his head in the sand. That's ignorance. And this image is when the mind is filled with so many desires. And those so many desires, due to ignorance, is fruitive activity. But there's an option to that fruitive activity, or activities in ignorance. And that's activities in devotional service. That's what Krishna came to establish. Nice. That's one of 3 verses for this evening. Now here's the next one. Notice in the brighter red letters, Shrinvanti, Gayanti, Grinanti, Abhikshnashaha. This phrase, Shrinvanti, Gayanti, Grinanti, I'll give you a hint. This phrase comes in Canto 1, Chapter 2. Actually, it comes in Canto 1, Chapter 1, because some of you like to read Prabhupada's books. I know that. So I'm speaking the way that I'm speaking because I know many of you like to read Prabhupada's books. So in Canto 1, Chapter 1, the sages of Naimisharanya are meeting together to counteract the ill effects of the age of Kali. They know by astronomical and astrological calculation, Kali Yuga has begun, Krishna's left, it's going to be bad. They want to do something. So what they decide to do, they decide to do what they know how to do, perform yajnas. Their plan is one yajna after the next yajna after the next yajna for 1,000 years to counteract the ill effects of the age of Kali. And they go to Kurukshetra to do that. It's a sacred place. And while they're there, Naimisharanya. And while they're there, they notice in their midst is Sutta. And Sutta has just heard the entire Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukadeva Goswami, along with Maharaj Pariksit. So they want to hear Srimad Bhagavatam from Sutta. The way to milk the cow, Sutta is the cow, they ask questions. They have 6 questions. And in those questions, they want to know what is that subject matter that one should always Shrinvanti Gayanti Grananti. And at the final chapter of the first canto, Maharaj Parikshit asked the same thing of Shukadeva Goswami. That is, I'm about to die. I've been cursed to die in 7 days. And what is that subject matter that I Shrinvanti, Gayanti, Grananti, Sadavaha? That's how this phrase goes. So Kunti is repeating the same phrase. No, it's important when you hear a phrase that's repeated, just like in Bhagavad Gita. There's one verse in Bhagavad Gita that's repeated twice. Or at least the first half is repeated twice. What's that one that's repeated twice? Meaning is important. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyati mam namaskuru. Four things. Manmana, what the mind does, think of Krishna. What the senses do, it takes in service to Krishna. Bhava madbhakto. Madhyati, worship Krishna. Mam namaskuru. Offer your obeisances. 4 things. It's at the last verse of the 9th chapter, which is in the very middle of Bhagavad Gita, and it's in the last chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Important verse. So this Shrinvanti Gayanti Gananti is also an important phrase. It's repeated for a reason. It's repeated because it's important. Let's sing along, or sing responsibly.
Shrinvanti Gayanti Gananti Smaranti Nandanti Kapitandana Taiva Pashyantya Chiri Bhavaga Shrinvanti Gayanti Shrinvanti Gayanti Grinanti Saranti Nandanti Kapitandana Taiva Pashyantya Chiri Bhavaga Shrinvanti Gayanti Nandanti Kapitandana
Even without knowing what it means, it just sounds very nice, doesn't it? Very pleasant. But it means something very nice also. The painting is a painting of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu carrying the body of Namacharya, the Acharya, the chanting of the holy name Haridas Thakur at the time of his departing his body, dancing and dancing and dancing, ecstatically carrying his body in a big procession of kirtan. Here's the translation. Oh Krishna, those who continuously hear, chant, and repeat your transcendental activities or take pleasure in others doing so, certainly see your lotus feet, which alone can stop the repetition of birth and death. There's this same phrase, you remember the phrase, Shrinvanti Gayanti Grinanti Sadavaha. This is found in 1st Canto, chapter 5. This is the instructions of Narada to Vyasa. Narada is the spiritual master. Vyasa is his disciple. And he's describing the kind of literature that Vyasa should compose. And that kind of literature that he should compose is hearing, chanting, and Grinanti means like bringing inside, carrying within yourself. Shrinvanti Gayanti Grinanti Sadavaha. That kind of literature Tad Vag Visarga Janata Agha Viplava. Agha, the first line, Agha means sin. And Janata Agha means sinful people. And Viplava means kaboom, explosion, or it annihilates that kind of sound vibration. Tatvag Visarga, Visarga means creation. Tatvag Visarga Janata Anga Viplava. This Yasmin Prati Slokam Abhadyavatsapi. It's a way of reversing the degradation of human society or the world, or the spiraling downward trajectory that any thoughtful person sees is going on around us. What to do about it? This is what to do about it, according to Bhagavatam. And guess what? It works. At least for those who receive it and take it up, because the accumulation of unintentional or intentional, through bad association, unintentional, bad activity, degradation of society, how to check that degradation. This is the method that's recommended in the Bhagavatam. In Prabhupada's purport, he mentions 5 really big-time degraded persons or demons. Ravana, pictured here, there's Ram slaying Ravana, shooting him with a special arrow, and killing Ravana. Each of these, they were materially very, very qualified. They did lots of austerities. They even observed certain dharmic principles, like, not all of them, but many of them, principles of charity and so forth. And so Jarasandha was known for his charitableness to brahmanas. No, pretty good. Okay. So Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, lots and lots and lots of austerities. Kamsa, very powerful. Boy, was he powerful. Jarasandha, the 3, Krishna, Bhima, and Arjuna came in disguise as brahmanas because Jarasandha was known to give charity to brahmanas. And he saw how massive those bodies were. He said, "You're not brahmins, you're Kshatriyas. But you want charity? No problem. Yes, we want to fight." Very well. Anyway, so because he was charitable, they came in that way. Then there was a big fight and Jarasandha was killed. Shishupal. They had enormous material aspects. And they were directly in the presence of the Supreme Personality of God, but they didn't see. Now remember what Kunti just said. By being in the direct presence of the Supreme Lord, one can become free from such tendencies, but there's not a guarantee if one's heart is dead set and inimical towards the Supreme Lord. When that hearing process, this is Shukadeva Goswami standing, the king kneeling before him, hearing from Shukadeva the message of the Bhagavatam. When the hearing process is perfect and complete, the other processes automatically become perfect in their own way. So essential in the 9 processes of bhakti is the hearing process, because it leads to perfection in the other processes. Krishna, in his dealings with the Pandavas, some persons are not so interested in Mahabharata and Krishna's dealing with the Pandavas. They're interested in Krishna's dealing with the gopis. The advice of Srila Prabhupada in his purport is all these activities are transcendental, so they shouldn't be considered not worthy of one's attention because the ones with the gopis are the most exalted, which is true. But all Krishna's activities are transcendental. Here's commentary and translation by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Persons who constantly hear, sing, speak, remember, and sing to others about your activities, they alone without delay are able to see your lotus feet, which destroy the influence of material existence. His commentary. This verse shows the actual reason for the Lord's appearance. These two verses in a row, 35, 36. You can go back and read them again. It's nice to know why the Lord appears. They and not others see for certain. It is not that they do not see. They see without delay. Achirena. Not after a long time. Your lotus feet. Not the lotus feet of one of your expansions. Those lotus feet destroy the influence of material existence rather than prolong material existence. Your form is not without qualities. In order to appreciate the beauty of the Lord, his 6 aspects need to be seen. The 6 aspects means the 6 opulences. 6 opulences. Right? 6 opulences. Beauty, strength, knowledge, renunciation, fame. He has all opulences in their fullness. But once Srila Prabhupada was asked, have you seen Krishna? And Prabhupada's answer was, if I told you, would you believe me? And the man said, oh, of course I'll believe you. And Prabhupada said, not only have I seen Krishna, but I've always seen Krishna. Now what does that mean? It doesn't mean with these eyes, because you can't see Krishna with these eyes. So what does it mean? That's what it doesn't mean. What does it mean? Those who have heard Prabhupada's lectures know what it means. You see through the eyes of Scripture. Shastra Chakshusa, or Jnana Chakshusa. You can see through the eyes of Scripture. Like, we've all heard it, anyone that listened to Prabhupada's lectures. Drink water. Krishna says, Rasoham Apsukanteya. I'm the taste of water. Who doesn't drink water? I'm the light of the sun and moon. Who hasn't seen the light of the sun and the moon? We all see the light of the sun and the moon. And that's Krishna. If you see through the light of Scripture, then you can see Krishna. Now, it doesn't mean, like this image is showing, that he didn't see Krishna like, we see each other sitting in the room here. But when he sees us sitting in the room when Prabhupada saw a person sitting before him, he would see beyond the physical body. Many of you have heard that they felt when Prabhupada was seeing me, he saw right through me. Very special persons. Central New Jersey had very special persons like this. You can't miss them. Very loud. Yes, Prabhupada could see Krishna with prema, premanjana charita bhakti lochanena, or he would see Krishna in his vision within his mind's eye, or he would see through the lens of Scripture. Now, some of you might know a little bit about this fancy word hermeneutics, from a Greek term. And hermeneutics means how to understand texts of Scripture. There's hermeneutics for the Bible, and hermeneutics for the Quran, and hermeneutics for the Vedas, and hermeneutics for Prabhupada's writings. What's the methodology for understanding or discerning the meaning within the text? Well, through Scripture, we can understand. By the influence of prema, one can see Krishna. One who is situated in prema sees Krishna. No, Krishna has to reveal himself, but one who has prema, Krishna reveals himself unto such a person. Okay, we're going to go for one more verse of Queen Kunti's prayers, and that's it for this evening. There's Kunti standing before Krishna's chariot. He's offering her a lotus flower and smiling very sweetly, and she's appealing to him with these words. Oh my Lord, you have executed all duties yourself. Are you leaving us today? Though we are completely dependent on your mercy and have no one else to protect us, now when all kings are at enmity with us? Meaning, Kurukshetra battle is over. They won. The Pandavas won. Many soldiers were killed, but they have relatives and rival kings and other people that are going to want to get back. So the many people that are at enmity with us now, and you're leaving? Please don't leave. She doesn't say it quite like that, but that's what she's saying. Here's a little summary. After glorifying Lord Krishna for being unperceivable to anyone other than his devotees, for adventing himself in this world, and for enacting wonderful human-like pastimes, Kunti now expresses her deepest fear. The Lord, after guiding the Pandavas through innumerable difficulties, will soon depart. So it's the anticipation of separation. That's her heart. Prabhupada writes, Srimati Kunti Devi felt impending separation from Sri Krishna to be like a thunderbolt. Better to have the calamities when you stay than no calamities and you go. Better to have the calamities. This prayer of Kunti is to try to persuade him to stay with them. In the case of this is Prabhupada's purport. In the case of our transcendental relation with the Lord, it is the most fortunate case when we can live completely dependent on him. So she's feeling like that. Here's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's translation and commentary. Oh Lord, do you, whose deeds are automatically accomplished, desire to reject us today, though we are your friends and depend on you? We have created trouble with many kings. We, having created trouble with many kings, have no other shelter but your lotus feet. And his commentary. We, and not others, become happy on seeing you and suffer on not seeing you. The time of happiness has passed, and the time of suffering has arrived. Do you desire to leave us today? Since you desire to go to Dwarka, that's his home. Going home. Krishna's reply. But I've stayed many months, many days. Now I must go to Dwarka. I have necessary work there. Please give your consent. He's looking up to his aunt. Please give your consent. Kunti replies. But you are the person whose necessary works are already accomplished by my sons, who served as your instruments. The Pandavas created suffering for many kings by killing their fathers or relatives. We depend on you, therefore please stay here and protect my sons. Meaning, Krishna's mentioned earlier, one of the three reasons for Krishna to come was to vinashaya come. And Arjuna was to be an instrument for that. So my sons did your work. And now that they did your work, there's going to be enmity towards my sons. And you're leaving? Please don't leave. Stay and protect my son. The message here is the sense of impending separation, or the sense of what is our real protection. The protection is not your mightiness and so many other material things. I have to be careful not to start coughing and it won't stop. Here's some examples. One example is Haridas Thakur. Many of you know who is Haridas Thakur. Some of you may not know who is Haridas Thakur. We mentioned him before. Lord Chaitanya was carrying him in his arms. He was the acharya, or teacher by example, for chanting of the holy name. He was doing this during the time there was Muslim rule. So the magistrate called Haridas, tied him up like a criminal, and brought him before the magistrate for trial for chanting the holy name. Fortunately, in that difficulty, when he was put in jail, Haridas was considered a saint by the worldly people, because he was. When he was put in jail, the other prisoners were really happy. Wow, a saint has come to visit us in jail. So they came to him with their palms folded. Please give us a benediction. And what was his benediction? Please stay the way you are. How's that a benediction? That sounds terrible. He said, you don't understand my meaning. Because you're in this situation, you're fully dependent upon the Supreme Lord. I'll tell you, in a few days, all of you are going to be released from jail. But what's going to happen when you leave the jail? You'll not be so dependent upon the Supreme Lord. So stay the way that you are, feeling dependent upon the Supreme Lord. It's His mercy that you have that intensity of feeling of dependency upon the Supreme Lord. And that was Kunti's position also. So here's the lesson. We're almost done. The lesson is, this is Prabhupada's words. It's not only the Pandavas who were put into the condition of enmity, but all of us are always in such a condition. And the best way of living is to become completely dependent on the will of the Lord and thereby overcome all difficulties of material existence. Say it the other way. Is there anybody that's free from difficulties? No such thing. Anyone that's in this material world, there's duality. There's sometimes and sometimes. Because it's the nature of the place. It's the place of duality. Sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's cold. It's right in Bhagavad Gita, and it's common experience. Sometimes there's honor, sometimes there's dishonor. Sometimes there's pleasure, sometimes there's pain. It's a place of duality. It's for everybody. So what do you do when the pain comes, or the dishonor comes, or the misfortune comes? What do? Do the same thing with this good fortune or anything else. You take shelter. of the Supreme Lord. That's the lesson. And those that take that lesson have shelter, have strength, and can overcome all other difficulties. I'm going to end with a nice story that many of you know, and those of you that don't know the story, stay tuned for tomorrow evening because we're going to finish the third part of Rukmini's marriage to Krishna. In Rukmini's marriage to Krishna, she, like us, had not seen Krishna, but she heard about him. From whom did she hear about Krishna? She heard from sages that would visit in the royal palace, and one of them was Narada Muni. And Narada Muni, he's brahmachari, but he was like a little matchmaker. He was telling Rukmini about Krishna's qualities. That was it. She wanted to give her life to Krishna. But there was a problem. Have you noticed there's always a problem? Wait a while. There's a problem. Or more than one. And the problem in her life was her brother. She had 5 brothers, and the elder brother was named Rukmi. And Rukmi, everyone except her elder brother, Rukmi, wanted what Rukmini wanted. She wanted to marry Krishna. Her father was very, very happy with that idea, except for one person, the elder brother. And he was really adamant because he was envious of Krishna. Not only he didn't want his sister to marry Krishna, she wanted him to marry, of all people, Shishupal. And Rukmini's like, no way, I'm going to marry Shishupal. But he was a powerful guy. And he just started making arrangements for her marriage, inviting all kings and so forth and so on. Kings of all description, hundreds of kings, but their armies, because they were expecting Krishna was going to do something. And sure enough, he did. But so what did Rukmini do? She hears this distressful situation. Darkai Vidarbhi was aware of Rukmini's plan for her to marry Shishupal, and it deeply upset her. Analyzing the situation, she composed a letter to Krishna and quickly sent the letter with a trustworthy Brahmana to Krishna. If you're interested in reading her letter to Krishna, this is where you can find it. And the Brahmana read the letter to Krishna, and it's a really nice letter. And it's like, from hearing about you, I've decided I'm yours. Please accept my hand in marriage. And there's a problem. My brother wants me to marry the king of Chedi, Shishupal. I'd rather die than be married to Shishupal. So you're going to have to come and save me. But she's such a princess. She gives a whole strategy of how it can happen. Now, how we should enter the capital city. Don't come with your armies, because that's going to create immediately a conflict. Come alone with some ministers, but your army should be waiting. And you may wonder how you can kidnap me without harming all of my relatives. Here's how. On the day before the marriage, it's our custom that the girl to be married goes outside the city to the family deity, Girija, and I'll be out in the public forum. You can bring your chariot at that time. Be ready for battle. She's got a whole thing. She lays out the battle plan and sends this message to Krishna with the messenger. She doesn't hear anything back. There's no SMS system at that time. No Google groups or anything like that. Just waiting for the messenger to come back. The messenger hasn't come back. Betrothed to man, she vowed Rukmini wanted to be with Krishna, not to be Krishna, to be with Krishna, but would he consent? So the next morning, the messenger came back and said, good news. Not only Krishna consented, but he's arrived. So she went outside to see the family deity, Ishtadev. And in comes Krishna's chariot. Much to everybody's amazement, he scoops up Rukmini, places her on the chariot, and whisks her away. And everyone's like, wait a minute. She's supposed to marry Shishupal. This is her wedding day. She's supposed to marry Shishupal. What's going on? Worst of all was Rukmini, because he was personally very envious of Krishna. He couldn't bear the fact that there he goes. There goes my sister, taken away by Krishna. So as he's having his chariot gallop down the roadway, he reassures Rukmini, do not be afraid, beautiful-eyed one. The enemy force is about to be destroyed by your soldiers. Your soldiers means she's now married. Because by this process of kidnapping her, she's married. She can't be touched by any other man because she's been touched by another man, by Krishna. And that your soldiers is Balaram, knowing that this thing was going to happen. He brought a massive army of Yadu soldiers and chariots and elephants and this and that. And he defeated all these powerful kings. And Krishna went off with Rukmini and became his first queen. Concluding message. Prabhupada writes, the highest achievement of perfect civilization is to work with valor, but at the same time depend completely on the Lord. And do not become complacent or an idle parasite. So devotees are bold and work with valor, but they're fully dependent upon Krishna at the same time. So that's Queen Kunti's teaching, and that's so many lessons in the Bhagavatam about this particular point, the characteristics of devotees of Krishna. I've gone way past time. You've been very patient. Not too many of you want that. You did. There's just 3 verses in Queen Kunti's prayers, and more could be said about them, but it's a nice beginning. And I think next time I come, I'll try to speak on the next verses of Queen Kunti's prayers. Let's see if there's some discussion. Here, see the portable microphone. Any comments or questions?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for it. It's a wonderful lecture, very inspiring. Thank you for that talk.
You can thank Neil Madhava, it was his idea.
Thanks to the team also. Yeah, my question is, Maharaj, though we theoretically understand that this chanting or hearing the glories of Krishna, chanting the glories of Krishna, so is the way to get rid of this suffering.
Yes.
But even though theoretically understand, the taste for that is not coming up to the way that we expected.
But the thing to understand is what?
The taste for the chanting
Taste isn't there yet.
is not there at that.
Not there yet. Keep going.
So how we can develop
Well,
the taste?
taste comes later. Ruchi doesn't come right away. Ruchi comes after what? Anartha-nivritti. What's anartha-nivritti? Eradication of unwanted things. And then after that comes steadiness, and then comes taste. So if you want to taste, you have to stay the course. You have to pay the price for purity. What's the price for purity? It's practicing with faith. Here's a nice little cute saying. You can't hurry Krishna. You can hurry Krishna, but you can't hurry Krishna. The eagerness, any of our eagerness is an important ingredient in the practice. In fact, according to Rupa Goswami, it's the essential ingredient. In fact, he goes even stronger than saying eagerness. He calls it logium, Greek. But, very strong eagerness. And if supposing there isn't strong eagerness, then what? It's going to take longer. But it's still purifying, even if it's going to take longer. So then the effort portion is on our side, and the mercy portion is on Krishna's side. Krishna's ready. Are we? How eager are we? That's the consideration. So when taste isn't there yet, continue with faith. Eagerly. Dial up the eagerness and dial up the faith. There's in the back.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for deciding this Kunti. So many lessons we can have from this. I want to understand the concept of Easter Day. You brought it up in the middle, like Rukmani's Easter Day. And many times we see in the scripture, somebody is skiing Easter Day, or you worship at Easter Day. Often people in today's world, many people, somehow bring up this concept of Easter Day. Somebody says this Easter Day, that Easter Day. So I just wanted to understand nicely how that plan.
Tradition is dwindling. Yeah. But Ishta Day is often a tradition within, say within a family or a family tradition, and then persons consider the deity that their family has worshipped for some generations as their Ishta Day. It's a tradition. So, your question is, where does that fit in? I mean, you say it this way, where does that fit in with Krishna Bhakti? That's what your question is really, right? We respect, it's something like when Krishna asked Nanda Maharaj about the Indra Yajna that he was about to perform. Krishna saw the whole arrangement that was going on, and he asked his father, "You're my father, I'm your son. It's the duty of the father to explain things thoroughly to the son. So I'd like to know what is this? Is this something that's enjoined in the Vedas, or is it family tradition?" Ishta Day is something more like a family tradition than something that's necessarily enjoined in the Vedas. So some things are done religiously simply because they're family tradition, not because it's enjoined in the Vedas. Now, if one takes a good look at what the Vedas is a desire tree, and there's something for everybody. So there's something over here and something over there, so that can be, there's something that our family line has made it theirs, and we do such and such, whatever that might be. Then there's the big picture of what the purpose of the Vedas is. And those things that are in the Vedas, and even traditional, they should be in alignment with what the purpose of the Vedas is. So what's the purpose of the Vedas? It's stated directly in Bhagavad Gita. The purpose of the Vedas is to know Krishna. Krishna says, Vedaishta Sayurvayar Aham Vejo. The purpose of the Vedas is to know Krishna. So family tradition should be aligned with the purpose of the Vedas. So supposing somebody grew up with certainly Ishta Day in their family tradition, for this generation or maybe many generations, and along comes Krishna consciousness. Now what to do? You water the root of the tree. Because by watering the root of the tree, then all the leaves and branches and twigs and every part of the tree get water. Supposing somebody, in the way they're growing up, their family worshipped Hanuman. And somewhere along the line, they came in touch with worship of Ram. They go to Hanuman and say, Hanuman, is it okay if I worship Ram? What's Hanuman going to say? Jai Ram, Shri Ram. Because that's the root of the tree. The purpose of the Ishtadev is to bring one to the position. The purpose of the parts of the tree is to serve the purpose of the whole tree. The root, watering the root of the tree, take care of it. So when you come in contact with Krishna consciousness, like, you know, the background that I came from, you know, what do I do about the background that I came from? It's a religious background. Mom and dad, you know, took me to church, and we did things that people who go to church do. Now here comes Krishna consciousness. Now where does that fit into what I did growing up in a Christian family? It was a dilemma until I understood it's not really a dilemma. It's just a continuation of what that teaching was in a more complete way. And my life was more in alignment with what that teaching was, that I wasn't really following as a Christian. I wasn't against it, but I wasn't really following it. I didn't really have teachers to teach me how to do it, etc. So that's where the Ishtadev fits in. It's a branch of something that's part of the tree. We water the root of the tree, and the branch gets it. We don't have to worry about it. Now, we can be respectful of family tradition and the Ishtadev, the family, and all that.
My family is kind of following this. My family is kind of more into, you know, calling the Ishtadev is like Bhima's grandson, Barbari. So they kind of.
They expect you to do what they did. Yes?
Yes.
Yes. So here's what you do. Here's an option of what you can do. It's from Hari Bhakti Vilas. You have options. There's a very nice, very simple. You can do or not do. And if you don't do, there's no offense. And if you do, there's a statement in Hari Bhakti Vilas. Let me do with the purpose of recognizing, let this nourish my Krishna bhakti. Because the purpose of the branch is to connect with the trunk, and then the tree itself has its purpose. So let me be respectful, let me not disturb the family members, and I'll do the other rituals or whatever it is that they like. In my mind, or even in my words, let this nourish my Krishna bhakti. Because that, after all, is the purpose of the Vedas. So then there's the Hari Bhakti Vilas says there's the option. One cannot do and it's not an offense. One can do and it's not an offense. Provided, if you do, it's with the explicit consciousness and articulation within the mind at least, that this nourish my Krishna bhakti. And thereby not disturb others also. Yeah. Looks like that's it. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada.
So let us long for Swami Maharaj.